Hey everybody, we're going to talk about Modern Horizons 2 cards that are good for Commander.
These are cards that are not reprints, which means they are brand spanking new right off the press of Modern Horizons 2, and you need them in your EDH deck. The video starts right now.
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below.
Shop at TCG Player using our link in the description below and directly help our channel.
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We make this video once per cycle. Every set comes out and we start scouring through it to find our favorite and the best overall EDH cards, and we're going to do that for Modern Horizons 2. But before we get into it, if you would, go down there, hit that like button if you like the video by the end of it. Hit that dislike button if you don't.
That's the best way to support the channel, with just the click of a button. That's right, by hitting dislike. If you do like the video, come along with us, maybe join our Patreon and all that stuff. We're going to talk about 10 great cards today that are brand spanking new, again, that just came into the MTG multiverse from Modern Horizons 2. Let's go ahead and get into the cards.
All right, so we're looking at an excellent piece of premium removal to start off our list. 2 white, 3 other for a 3/2 flashing life linking elemental incarnation. It says when Solitude enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 other target creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power, and Jake, you can evoke it by exiling a white card from your hand. If you're not familiar, evoke is basically cast, but once it enters the battlefield, you have to sacrifice it. So it basically becomes this like creature, but it's a spell, and the creature dies immediately, but you still get the spell's effect.
That's right, and if you do have a degenerate spell like Ephemerate or something like that, you can cheat this effect and keep the card on the battlefield and then get that effect again. And then again, Ephemerate has Rebound, which is going to be off the top of your library, so you're going to get another additional effect off. It's just absolutely shenanigans. But yeah, it is notable that the evoke cost is going to follow, you know, the parameters of the card. Whether or not it has flash or not is going to dictate how that evoke works. So it evokes at sorcery speed, it evokes at sorcery speed. This card obviously has flash. So yeah, it's essentially a free spell. You know, when we think about cards like Force of Negation, Force of Will, these kind of cards, they're very attractive in EDH. So people that are in white, you know, if it really comes down to being able to exile, for example, that Thassa's Oracle right before the combo goes off and they win, you know, that's going to be a very attractive card. And again, this is the kind of thing that gets around, you know, mana cost. If you need to tap out, this is the kind of thing that you can hold up and it's an additional effect. The 3/2 for lifelink is kind of cool, but that's not why we're reviewing the card.
No, we're looking at a free effect. Free effects, free spells, free mana, always breakable, always seen at the highest levels of play. You're going to see this, I would assume, in CEDH. CEDH isn't something that Jake and I play a lot, something we're branching more into and learning more about. But I think that we both would safely assume this card will find a home in some powerful CEDH deck that has white in it. Jake, we're sort of reviewing the entire spectrum of EDH today, and that's why our second card is Cauldra Complete, a card you probably will not see in CEDH. It is a 7-cost living weapon legendary artifact that has all of the attributes of Cauldra. 5/5 first strike, trample, indestructible haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. So Jake, you get this creature that comes into the battlefield and does dope things and also stays behind once the creature dies.
The big sell for me on this card is the indestructible on not only the equipment, but the indestructible that it offers whatever is equipped to it. So it's really one of those things that once it hits the battlefield, there's a very narrow amount of effects that are going to answer this card
right
well. So, you know, any kind of exile target artifact is going to be the way that you need to go here. Very strong card. It's got, you know, just keyword soup all over it. And once you resolve it, you're probably going to be in a really good place. And keep in mind, once it deals that damage, it exiles, and that is off first strike. So anything that blocks this card is out of the game as well.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I misspoke and said when the creature dies. You're absolutely right, Jake. They've got to exile the creature and exile the equipment. So you need 2 exile effects. Pretty brutal. It's just a fun stompy card. I mean, 7 to cast is already prohibitive. You're looking at 7 then to re-equip. There's a lot of ways to cheat both of those, the casting cost or the equip ability. We reviewed this card at length in our Artifacts from Modern Horizons 2 video, so go check that out. Big, splashy, silly equipment, always good for a top 10 spot on Modern Horizons 2 commander cards, right?
Sure, and keep in mind, casual card. So don't go over the top thinking, oh, these guys think that this is going to be really competitive. Not necessarily. We think that it's a very good, big, splashy card that's going to be attractive to a wide range of EDH players.
Yeah, agreed. I think the first time that we see someone play it against us, we'll go, oh crap, got to deal with that now.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about this next card here, Ragvan Nimble Pilferer. For 1 red, you're getting a 2/1. It also has Dash, which was an effect that I believe came in the Kanzatar Cure block, but whenever Ragvan Nimble Pilferer deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, so a little bit of ramp there, and exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may cast that card. So pretty big effect there. And again, those treasure tokens are going to create mana of any color so that you should be able to cast those spells that you exile with Ragvan. So yeah, the dash also is able to, it protects the card, right? Because you dash in, you get that effect, and then it returns to your hand. Again, very cheap card all in all, very aggro. And yeah, this card has a lot of hype right out the gate. I think that this card has definitely, I mean, it definitely has legs in Commander. I think it's going to be the kind of card that people like to tinker with. But then also, you know, keep in mind, all of these cards are modern cards. So if you're thinking about like holding off on some of these, is there going to be a big Ragvan modern deck? Who knows like where the price of these cards are going to go just because of that big overlap.
Yeah, absolutely. Sword of Hearth and Home up next. Jake, our new card in the sword cycle.
3 for an artifact equipment. Obviously it has equip 2 like every single sword in the cycle. 3 and 2 to equip. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 pro green, pro white. And whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target creature you control, then search your library for a basic land card. But put both cards onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. And keep in mind that is off combat damage, but you are getting a blink effect. And then we've talked about this before, but the floor of the card is a Sword of the Animist, which is just absolute gas.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to protect you from some of the most premium removal in the format. It's going to give you protection from some of the beefiest blocking creatures in the format. So you're going to be able to attack through. You're going to not be able to be removed unless you're wiped. Sword of Hearth and Home offers mana ramp to spell colors that might not have it. I'm just overall like Jake. I'm a huge fan of this card. I think it's an excellent addition to that cycle. I'm a huge fan of this card too, Jake, because of the versatility here. It's called 2 black for a sorcery. Just says destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated. And then a keyword that is the bane of commander players everywhere because of one little card called Cyclonic Rift. The card has overload for 2 white, 2 other. You may cast this as its overload cost, and if you do, you change the text by replacing instances of target with each. So then it says destroy each creature. Jake, you've got a Wrath of God that can power itself down and destroy just a creature if that's all you want to do.
Or go with me here, you have a just straight up destroy target creature spell that can power itself up to become a Wrath of God. Imagine if this card said destroy target creature or planeswalker. Oh my god.
Oh,
no,
well,
I mean, but no,
then it would
seriously,
say destroy each planeswalker for its overload.
The only thing that would have made this even more degenerate is if they had put instant on it instead, because that's the only thing that's kind of medium, right? Is if you're using the base level version of this card, which is destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated. That at sorcery speed in EDH does leave something to be desired. But in this new age of like modal dual face cards, and obviously we've seen modal cards throughout the history of Magic, people like versatility. And that's why the card is included. Is it does offer, you know, for a cheap cost, a straight up destroy spell. It's not restricted in any kind of way. It's not non-artifact. It's not non-black, which are things that we've seen in the history of MTG. It's just a straight up destroy spell. It's sorcery speed, which is kind of medium. But again, Wrath of God as the overload cost. It's not like 2 white, 2 black, and 2 other. It's just straight up 2 white, 2 other. Wrath of God overload on the card. I mean, it's cool. It's cool.
I love this. This is up there for me as some of the best, one of the best pieces of board wipe ever released into the game. And so huge fan of this spell. We always say run more targeted removal. How about run more targeted removal that moonlights as a freaking board wipe? Super excellent. Love this spell. Run it. Here's another one that is just excellent. I think I've talked about this in like 2 or 3 videos now. Sper Sentinel, or as the internet has started calling it, Rhystic Buddy. 1 white, 1/1
that's
human
funny.
soldier.
That's the first time I've heard that. I like that.
Rhystic Buddy here. 1 white, 1/1 for a human soldier. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card, unless that player pays X, where X is Sper Sentinel's power. For 1 mana, Jake, there's just so much good about this card. 1 mana, it draws you cards. People normally don't want to pay the taxes. They don't care about paying the taxes. You're going to draw cards. It's an artifact and a human and a soldier, so very relevant creature types. It's just so easy to get this out and start valuing immediately off of this little artifact card ramp card. It's just, I love it.
Yeah, whether it's a ramp spell or a soul ring that your opponent's playing, if it's early on in the game, you're absolutely going to profit from this card. Like, I love Smothering Tithe, right? Because Smothering Tithe ramps you. And I love Rhystic Study because Rhystic Study is drawing you cards. I love Mystic Remora because Mystic Remora is drawing you cards. And while I do like Smothering Tithe, Sper Sentinel is kind of answering that problem that is, white doesn't really have one of those kind of like static spells that's just going to draw you cards off of your opponent's playing stuff. It has cards that's going to ramp you, but now Sper Sentinel exists and it is the Rhystic Buddy. You know, that's something that's going to really thrive alongside Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora, but it's a card that by itself, whether you're in like, you know, green white or mono white, it's going to be a card that's really nice to add to any deck in EDH, in my opinion. I mean, velocity is a big deal.
Oh, velocity is huge, and I like that the art looks like a T1000. That's always going to be relevant to me to be running Judgment Day characters in my EDH decks.
Let's be honest though, doesn't that look like a 2/1 with first strike at least?
It does kind of look like a first striker, I'm not gonna lie. Sanctum Weaver. Sanctum Weaver's a new mana dork that lots of people are talking about. We got a green and 1 other for a 0/2 Dryad. Taps to add X mana of any one color where X is the number of enchantments you control. Jake, if there's one thing that we know about EDH mana dorks, like Feyburrow Elder, if they can add multiple colors of mana off of 1 spell, it's going to be absolutely brutal. You've got cards like Freed from the Real that are going to allow you to go infinite mana with this 2-card combo on turn 3.
No mana to tap here.
Yeah. Done.
Just to tap.
Adds multiple, any color, not restricted in the colors you have. This is such a house of a card, Jake. In the right deck. I will say, by itself, as a standalone mana dork in a deck that just needs mana dorks, probably not going to get you there. But anywhere near an Enchantress strategy, you're already stomping all over it. And if you're a player like Jake, that by default runs 15 enchantments in every EDH deck just because he likes the permanent type, you're looking at a playable mana dork here.
Yeah, I mean, it does float mana off of itself, so the floor of the card isn't terrible as is, but yeah, as soon as you put more enchantments into the deck, the card is really going to shine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Big fan of that one. Jake, how about our ridiculous land? This one at the beginning of the MH2 news cycle was the most discussed card. It's faded into the background as people have gotten distracted by newer, shinier things, but I still think that this is a house of a card. On the first turn that you play it, it's tapping for colorless. On the second turn, it gains this ability to tap for 2 and create 0/0 constructs that get +1/+1 for each artifact you control. It's fine. It's not good, not great, not terrible. But that's really only relevant in the late game, I think. I'm talking first turn, you play this, it's tapping for mana. Third turn, you get to go get a 0 or 1 cost artifact card. And it's got to be exactly that. It can't be like XX. You can't go get Walking Ballista with this. It's got to be exactly 0.
No chalice.
Or the 1. Right, exactly. And so, I mean, by default, you think Jeweled Lotus, you think, you know, Soul Ring, right?
Right. Those come to mind right out the gate, and that does seem like probably the way to go with this card. I mean, Soul Ring is one of the most oppressive cards in EDH, and if you're able to, you know, just have an Urza Saga, you know, any kind of special effect that gets tacked on a land is really great, right? Because it kind of, you know, depending on your mana base, it allows you to run additional effects, right? So again, we're talking about versatility earlier in the video. This is the kind of thing that you're going to want to look for in your deck. A little bit of a little bit of utility. You know, the Fields of Ruins, the Wastelands, the Bajuka Bogs, all these kind of effects have been really popular in EDH over the years. And I think Urza Saga, although it may not be in every single deck, I do think it's the kind of card that's really going to appeal to a lot of players.
I think that I wouldn't run this in one of my land slots. This would be a utility slot because it does get sacrificed after that third mode goes off. And I would run it as part of a little toolbox, you know, find the 0-cost, 1-cost artifacts that are going to host specific strategies. You know, Tormod's Crypt comes to mind off the rip. If I'm running this card, I definitely am putting Tormod's Crypt in the deck so that I can go get it. If I see that I'm setting across from, you know, a Muldrotha player, then I've got my Tormods on the battlefield. I'm just like, don't screw with me and I won't pop this, period.
I mean, it is essentially a land that offers a tutor effect. So it is a groundbreaking card. That's why it's on the list. But again, yeah, it is narrow. But yeah, even though it gets sacrificed, I still think it is just widely playable for that tutor.
Yeah, agreed. Here's one that's a little more narrow, Jake, but I think it's got a lot of implications going forward, and that's Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. We've got the green version of Urborg here, right here. It's here. They said, now it's a green card, and we were all like, okay.
Yeah, and the implications of it are that there will be a cycle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly
there will be a cycle. You'll need to figure it out because Perforos exists, and if you're going to have every land be a mountain regardless, I think that's going to be a little degenerate. I think somebody's going to figure out a way to break that, but maybe. And I think also says that there's going to be some designs towards forest-only decks like there are towards swamp-only decks, right?
Yeah, just because with green mana, there's always like mana doubling, right? So there's obviously some degeneracy here right out the gate just off of reading the card. Whether or not there will be some insane combo action that comes from this is yet to be seen. You know, it really does imply that we are going to see a cycle of these cards. And what does that mean for the future of MTG?
Obviously, right now, we don't think this is as strong as Urborg is, but because of the power level that has based on cards that are around it in the strategy, we know that as soon as Yavimaya gets that support, this card's going to be as powerful. Jake, lastly in our number 10, this is a more casual card. It's super fun though. Inevitable Betrayal. 3 mana to suspend it for 3, blue 1. Search target opponent's library for a creature card and put that card onto the battlefield under your control and that player shuffles.
Thank God we found a blue card for the list. We almost made it through the list and there was no blue card.
Yeah, but honestly, the other colors have just gotten a lot more heat for EDH specifically in this set. But I think it's fun. I mean, it's not a lot of mana to pay for this type of effect. You've got cards in MTG like Bribery that, you know, allow you to go and search and put things right onto the battlefield. But I like doing this for 3, and then you've got 3 turns to sort of like politic your way to a decision.
Yeah, that's right. And you do get to kind of like look at the opponent's decks. What are they working with? What potentially has a combo in the deck that may be going to work well with something in your deck, that kind of thing. Inevitable Betrayal, again, a card that's a little bit more casual, but we think it needs to be on the list just because, at least in our circle of EDH, there's a lot of politicking that happens at the table and that kind of thing. This is one of those fun cards that kind of plays in line with that. Again, yeah, you're going to find other cards that are going to do this just straight up, but for more mana. I do think that the suspend is nice. And again, if you use some sort of, you know, expertise type effect that lets you cast a card for
Cascade.
0, for example, you're going to get to cast this for free. So if it's a Yahenni's expertise or any kind of thing like that, there are some shenanigans to be had.
Let us know which cards from MH2 are your favorite Commander cards. We have gotten a lot of love, Jake, for our favorite format in this set that had the word modern in the title.
Yeah, that's right. And I would expect that kind of thing to happen in the future. You know, Wizards of the Coast, they see that Commander is the way. They see that this is the most popular format. Hopefully Modern does come back in a big way. I really can't wait to start going back and playing those tournaments on Sundays. I just like going jamming a couple games of Modern. This set is definitely going to shake up the format. What cards do you think are going to shake up that format the most? Leave that in the comments as well. We can't wait to talk to you about it.